Hello there, I know exactly what you're thinking. Who better to talk about this subject than me? One of the most politically incorrect people you will probably meet. I am also willingly and knowingly politically incorrect for a reason, which you'll find out about later. But what is political incorrectness? Political incorrectness is language, actions, or policies that are intended or designed specifically to offend or disadvantage a particular group of people in society. Political correctness, on the other hand, is language, actions, and policies intended and designed to not offend or disadvantage any particular group of people in society. We've seen it in politics, candidates endlessly dancing around the truth of how they really feel and what they really think so that they can get the vote. But are we so much different than corrupt politicians? Not when we're concerned with people seeing us in a certain light. Not when our main focus is to express ourselves in a way that we are going to be completely received by somebody and accepted. We cannot discuss political correctness without also discussing stereotypes and prejudices. After all, a person who's politically correct, or PC, is someone who seeks to set right the injustices done in the past by prejudice and stereotyping, specifically by changing or avoiding language that may offend those people. Reality check moment. We are all prejudice. We all have stereotypes. Whether or not we censor those stereotypes or cover them up or admit to them or not. Here's an example. You're stereotyping when you say black people are good dancers. It just so happens that this doesn't offend most black people, so it isn't politically incorrect to say it. You're also stereotyping when you say white people can't dance. It just so happens that even if it does offend white people to say it, it isn't politically incorrect to do so because whites are still expected to pay for the offenses of slavery. Now, if you said anything negative about black people, such as black people can't swim, that would be politically incorrect because it's a social expectation that we redress the social injustice of slavery by never saying anything to offend black people. In today's world, speaking can be a little bit like walking on broken glass. And of course, what is politically correct versus incorrect is highly dependent on the opinion of the social group that you grew up in. And you can bet that those social groups don't always agree. The more importance social groups place on appropriateness and social standards, the more dedicated they are to political correctness. But in case you haven't noticed, it is damn near impossible to express how you genuinely feel without offending someone. Look, the desire and intention to speak in a way that doesn't hurt other people, that's a noble enough cause. I even did a video on it myself. If you want to, you can go take a look at it. It's called Authenticity versus Just Being an Asshole. But let's be honest. A genuine bigot is not going to be wasting their time watching a video on YouTube about political correctness. So this particular video is not designed for them. This video is not about the people who don't really care about offending people and thus looking bad. This video is for the rest of you. Those of you who can't stand the idea of saying what you really think and feel in case it offends someone and you come out looking like a bad guy. So what is the problem with political correctness? Well, to start with, you're not doing it to decrease suffering. You're not being honest. What you're doing is being careful. Careful to look good. Being politically correct does nothing to address the real issues that political correctness is supposed to redress. It allows everyone to be covertly prejudiced and covertly stereotyped while condemning everyone else who does. I'm about to offend a bunch of people with what I'm about to say right now. Stereotypes, they wouldn't exist in the first place if there wasn't something backing them up. We can either become offended that the stereotype exists and demand to be disincluded from it, or we can live our lives out of accordance with the stereotype and simply allow people's stereotyping to be disproven. For example, I'm a spiritual person. Did you know that it's a stereotype that spiritual people are irresponsible? That may be offensive. I may feel like I don't fit the stereotype. But you want to know the reality check? I know a lot of spiritual people who are damn irresponsible. So, I can either get upset at the stereotype and demand it isn't true based on me, or demand to be disincluded from it, or continue to live in a responsible way and allow people to form a different opinion about spiritual people based on me. Political correctness has fueled taboo. It has made certain subjects completely off limits. That's a major problem. Off-limits subjects? Whew, you know what happens when stuff gets driven underground. It just starts to fester. So we're not allowed to express the sometimes painful and unsavory truths that are hidden deep within our being. Obviously, if we can't expose these truths directly enough to get anywhere with our communication or solve problems relating to those truths, we can't get anywhere within society in general. It has made it so we can't get comfortable with each other. We're always in performance mode, manipulating people's opinions of us while hiding our genuine selves. It is critical that we understand that we cannot have any meaningful conversation or discussion if we can't talk about taboo subjects, or if we can't reveal our true thoughts and feelings relative to any subject. We are fueling negative diversity and separation by prohibiting open communication in this way. When we are so careful about certain groups of people, we acknowledge and treat them as a separate group. Also, we are fueling shame. If we think or feel in a certain way that we have been taught is unacceptable to think and feel, we begin to condemn ourselves. The fact that we shouldn't think or feel that certain way does not change anything. It doesn't change the fact that we feel that way, so we're convinced something's wrong with us or bad about us. You want a harsh truth? The harsh truth is there are many harsh truths that we don't want to face. It doesn't feel good to look at them. It may offend us to look at them. But unless we do, we're literally up the creek without a paddle. There's a lot of deep truths that will offend people and piss them off. There's a lot of deep truths within you that may not cast you in the greatest light. But it is important for the sake of authenticity to expose those truths so they can be meaningfully addressed. It is absolutely critical that you say what you mean and that you mean what you say. As a spiritual teacher, I am really, really feeling frustrated about the fact that I run into so many people on this earth who would rather hear a direct lie than somebody say something that is politically incorrect. If we constantly censor ourselves relative to anything that might be controversial or offensive or taboo, we will end up in a prison of restricted expression and self-righteous moral indignation. Do you know how many of us are content to have an elephant in the room? Not just one elephant in the room, a whole damn herd of them. Now, I'm going to tell you that part of your spiritual practice is to expose these elephants. Look, if we can't talk about taboo subjects, if we can't talk about our prejudices and stereotyping, if we can't talk about the differences that puzzle us or the things we're genuinely curious about without fear of giving offense, how can we ever come up with actual solutions to problems? How can we overcome our internal pain or even our ignorance about one another? I'm calling for an end to this restrictive gag order that has been placed over mankind. I'm challenging you to be open about your prejudices, open about your stereotyping, open about the unsavory truths you're scared of revealing. I'm challenging you to be authentic. Now, you can look at political candidates and think you're a lot different than them. But the reality is we're doing the same damn thing they do every day, just with our particular social group. They may be trying to win over an entire country. You may be trying to win over a room. The entire point is, you probably got voted into office based on something you aren't. Wouldn't you rather be voted into office based on something that you are? If you get voted into any social group by not meaning what you say and saying what you don't mean, you didn't win the vote anyway. Your carefully crafted, socially acceptable facade did. Here's an exercise. Next time you feel yourself trying to carefully craft the things you say specifically so they'll be received in a way where no one's offended so you can maintain looking good, I want you to uncork the bottle and just say whatever it is you mean in a raw, unfiltered way. Be as brave enough to verbalize truth as you see it as you are brave enough to see a different truth or to have that truth proven wrong. Tiptoe talk is hollow, it lacks substance because there is none of you in it. It is like frosting with no cake underneath. And you're never going to be able to be careful enough to avoid offending everyone. Besides, wouldn't you rather Be able to directly converse about something you actually think or feel, even if it is offensive, rather than pretend you don't think or feel that way? Wouldn't you rather vote or not vote for a political candidate based on the solid foundation of how they truly felt or thought? I urge you, as part of your spiritual practice, to care more about your raw, unfiltered truth, about your authenticity, than you care about looking good. I challenge you to expose the elephant in the room. I challenge you to say things even if they're going to offend people, not for the sake of hurting them, but for the sake of actually getting to the core of how you really think and feel. I urge you to expose the taboo, openly converse about everything even if the subject is sensitive. Only then will you see any genuine or lasting positive change. Only then can we come together instead of fuel our differences. To sum it all up, what I urge you to do is to take your political correctness and set it on fire. See what it feels like to be free. Have a good week.